Good evening, We Buy Black family, and welcome back to New Africa August. I'm your host today, Rudy Simpson, volunteer coordinator with We Buy Black, and we have a treat in store for you all today. So today we have two speakers, very dynamic Black men who are making it happen in our community. First off, I want to introduce you guys to a friend, a pal of mine, known him forever. We do so much out here in the community. My brother DeVonte Johnson, head of marketing for Menergi Network. He's gonna let us know a little bit about what he's doing out here. Topic today is how to get products made in China and Africa. But I know this brother personally, and I definitely am excited to hear just his take on how we plan on moving forward with creating that new Africa mindset. So, with that being said, I'm gonna give my brother the platform. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Thank you guys for the opportunity to be able to share. Like Rudy said, I'm DeVonte Johnson. I'm a native of Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm head of marketing for Menergi Network. In Menergi, we are a new startup that focuses on helping minority-led nonprofits get the funding and resources they need to do the work that matters. We're currently came out of the Comcast incubating system, and we've been in service or in business for about 3 months now. So we're really working to make some partnerships to help get those diverse nonprofits the resources that they need to have.
Oh man, that's y'all heard that? Y'all heard that? Nonprofit. So as we know within the We Buy Black community, we do need to support our Black businesses. Keep that dollar circulating and moving and growing and getting stronger. But there's also another important component, that philanthropic component, that impact that we have to have within our community as well. There are a lot of big corporations that, are circulating that dollar through communities, through neighborhoods, through, countries, right? But how can we really understand and develop, especially young minds, the importance of that? So I guess I'll lead off with that being the first question, DeVonte. When it comes to you working within, the nonprofit space, let us know a little bit about just kind of how that is, and from your background, just how did you get started with that?
Yeah, so I guess my background is, so I'm actually, I'm finishing up my 4th year of dental school. I'm getting my doctorate of dental medicine at Tufts University in Boston. So the foundation of my brand and my platform really focused and started around being a global advocate for oral health, right? So I was calling myself a global advocate for oral health back in 2011, and I had never been outside of the country, right? So it started off with just a vision, and I was able to get with people along my path to kind of make that resource possible. And the basis of it was just around how I wanted to help bridge the gap between the oral health and health disparities in my community with the resources that I had already been receiving. So I started that whole pursuit of the nonprofit space, and I saw the resources that were available. A lot of times, the problems that I've seen is that, we come from these underserved areas, and a lot of times we want to serve, but we don't have access to that funding and those resources to get there. And I think that's probably the biggest issue that I've been seeing, is like, okay, how do we get that access? What's the problem? What's the space to get that access? The other issue is something called mission drift, right? So just say, okay, Rudy, you're interested in helping serve in homeless populations, right? Well, you start a nonprofit based on your passion, based on what you care about. Boom, you get the 501c3, you get everything together. Now you start looking for what? Resources, funding, grants to try to support that. Now, if you can't find those resources or you can't find those grants, but just say you see a grant there for sexual education, that's not even your initial passion. That wasn't even a thing that you got into to actually go towards, working in these underserved areas. But because that's what's available, you now shift your initial mission just to something to get the resources to support else. So now your whole mission is based around the
Right.
provider for the homeless, as well as doing sexual education. And that's the problem with the whole philanthropy space. So that's one issue that I've been seeing, is that the resources are so stringent and so like compacted together that individuals who have a passion for the community, that have a passion for a certain demographic, they don't have an open source of funds that they can just do whatever they want to do for it. The powers that be, the people that are controlling that dollar, that are controlling that donation, that are controlling that grant, are now being able to say, all right, this is what we want you to do with it. And because of that, that's where the issue starts in. So that's kind of where Menergi kind of was founded, and that's the kind of issue that we're trying to address.
So I like that. So basically, you have a space where you know you're looking to save the world, but as you move, you know, so much that's pulling you that makes sense.
Yeah, and not even that. The biggest piece is this, man. Impact takes money, right? At a certain level, like influence, we can all influence people with our words and our actions, but to really create a movement, it takes resources. It takes funding. And if we, through our customer discovery, we've surveyed probably 150, maybe 200 nonprofits, and 75 to 80%, their issue is always funding.
Right.
Just can't find the funding to figure that thing out. Right. But on the contrary, you look at these foundations, right? So 2019, foundations committed $70 billion towards the nonprofit philanthropy space. $70 billion.
Wow.
Of that $70 billion, only 7% went to minority-led nonprofits.
Wow.
Right? Mind you, but that same 70 billion, these corporations, these organizations, especially in this current climate where everybody was committing to Black Lives Matter movements and different things, committing dollars amounts, they have these commitments to underserved populations, but it doesn't show transparently in the way that they give, right? So there's no third party resource to kind of check up on that. Okay, you said you're committed to underserved communities.
Right.
How can we follow up with that? Or you said you support Black Lives Matter and these different organizations. How can we follow up with that to see those things? So same disruption of the philanthropy space is extremely important, like every other space.
Right. So with you and Menergi and the team, you all, like you said, you've done your survey, you've done your research. So currently, what is that? How has it been so far with you and the team? Working, in other countries, and just like to let us know about how that looks like. What does that really look like?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, man, it's refreshing. I think that majority of time, individuals they're coming into the space and they are just grateful to have a group of individuals that are trying to advocate on their behalf.
Right. So
a lot of nonprofits have consultants and they have people that come in for them that literally like, hey man, we're going to help you find grants and we're going to help. Like, there's no strategy of like how to attack the space. There's so many ambiguities. Like, you don't know where the money is. You don't know how to apply for different things. Like, it's kind of like your network is the only way that you can figure things out.
Right.
For them, there's not a centralized space where you can go to kind of attack different things. So if I ask, like, where do you go to look for grants? If I ask 10 nonprofits, where do they go to look for grants? They're going to give me 10 different answers potentially. Right. Some people are on certain mailing lists. Some people are going to grants.gov. You know what I mean? So, but these are the people doing the work that matters. These are the people that run the homeless shelters. These are the people that run, you know what I mean? So it's just like in COVID, the pandemic really opened up that whole play for us, right? It really made them even more vulnerable. So, back in 2008, when you had the financial crisis and everything, you had the too big to fail clauses that were put in there. So it was certain banks, organizations that the economy and the government knew that we can't let those organizations fail, because that would cause a complete breakdown of our society. Like, we can't let that bank fail, we can't let that organization fail, etc. But no type of system was put in place for nonprofits or these organizations like that, right? So in a pandemic like this, where nonprofits are heavily dependent on fundraising dollars, they're heavily dependent on that. You know, they might have had a gala that they do annually, or some type of fundraising dinner that they usually use to kind of support these communities, or it might even be a part of their annual budget that it helps give, you know, salaries to individuals. All of those things had to get cut.
Right.
And now there's no system just to keep supporting it. The money has to go towards COVID related things. So their mission now is back to the back burner, right? So I know that's a whole whirlwind of things trying to
it's good.
But I just want to kind of paint the picture of like philanthropy, the nonprofit industry, all of these places. There's a need for a revolution, or it'll be tough navigating through it anymore. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and I actually, someone put in the chat a question that it was going to lead into it. Yeah. It says, so is getting a grant needed to get things made in Africa and China?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And we could transition to that as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you might as well. They want to know.
Yeah. So okay, boom, switching gears. So that's a nonprofit space, but going into creating everything that we're doing for Menergi. So initially, Menergi was about, we wanted to provide services. This is how it initially started. We wanted to provide oral health services to the underserved communities, but we also wanted an actual product. You know what I mean? We wanted hardware. So we were going to do some things around like digitalized things, but we ended up going with a toothbrush. That's what we wanted to do, right? So our initial search started with Alibaba, right? And I don't know if everybody's familiar with it, but Alibaba is basically like, it's like the Amazon for China, essentially. And on there, they have a host of different suppliers that kind of or just advocate for what they created. A ton of medical products, service products. Now, the difference is, you know, there are companies and organizations that do the same thing in America, but of course in China, these resources are at a fraction of the cost, right? So that's where our initial piece was. We want a product to go with our actual business. We want a toothbrush. So we started with Alibaba. So we listed out everything. We had about 10 suppliers. When we started having, you know, talking about the different features that we wanted. And that platform is extremely simple. I mean, you literally, you know, they already understand, you know, they're really sought after. So they kind of give you the different metrics of different things that they're looking for. They tell you what the minimum quantity that you need to order to get a certain price, et cetera, et cetera. So after we had about 10 of them, we had narrowed it down. And then one of the suppliers said, well, there's a trade show coming up in Hong Kong that would probably give you guys a better opportunity to see how, you know, how your product is being made. If you want to add some new features, et cetera, et cetera. You also can come to the factory to just kind of make sure that everything is compliant with what you wanted to do, right? So again, you don't have to go to China or do anything like that to set up a play like that. It was literally everything over the phone through email. You can get samples sent to you. You can get sample packaging. You can, you know what I mean? They can video call you, the whole nine. It's really robust industry. So for us, we wanted to take it to the next level. So what we ended up doing was we booked a flight, the whole team, because we really wanted to be a part of the whole process. Like, we wanted to figure it out, because eventually we wanted to buy our own machines to then create our own toothbrushes in America. But we felt like we really want to get the whole experience to see how everything is being made, the process, the ins and outs of the technology. So we went all the way. We went to China. So
and I wanted to add to that. Yeah, so with that, as far as with China, I know you did some things in Africa as well, right after that trip, like immediately after. So going to Africa and being exposed to just how the the process is when it comes to creating a product from scratch in another country. Let us know a little bit about how Africa was for you as far as just your endeavor and how it all aligned with Menergi, but even with just your plans for Africa, like any manufacturing connections and tips, and just how does that look compared to China, and how do you see it, Menergi really assisting with just that build out of just even in Africa?
Right. So the thing about it is, if you know anything about what China's doing, China has a pretty heavy hand in Africa. You know what I mean? From loaning a lot of money out to trying to get different things built, like they've leveraged their position and went after Africa really strategically. You know what I mean? And not to the benefit of Africa in certain capacities as well. You know what I mean? Like a lot of debt, a lot of these countries are taking a debt to China to get certain things built, maybe seaports, maybe certain railroads, et cetera, et cetera. So what I understood is that, that's the motherland. I had a personal connection because I had traveled there with my church. I got exposed, and I went to Uganda. And a lot of the times when you go to these spaces, like, they haven't seen us. They haven't seen Black Americans before, right? So it's like you have to build a relationship just like anybody else. Like, it's not a situation where you come over and it's just like, brother, you know what I mean? Like, you got to build a relationship. Like, you got to be able to explain that you're trying to look out as best as possible, because a lot of these places, they've been exploited, from a ton of different people, situations. So that was the initial thing, like just actually showing my heart, who we were, showing my character, and trying to figure out how to build those infrastructures. So when it came to Menergi, so specifically, Uganda, this is a country of 33 million people. They only have 300 dentists, registered dentists in the entire country, right? 33 million,
What?
300 dentists, right? So,
whoa.
Exactly. So when we talk about a global advocate, I was looking at ways not only just to bring a product, but help to build an infrastructure, right? So we needed to educate more dentists, you know what I mean? So figuring out how to partner with different things. So, it's all a chain of command, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to come in with this American westernized mentality of like, I want to come in and do this. You got to come in and ask the needs of the people, have them direct you. Right. So I might see a disparity, but that might not be the initial thing that they want to address. They might try to get access to clean water. I'm trying to tell them about oral health, but if they don't have access to clean water, we hustling backwards. So I think just understanding, like, when you coming into these spaces, like if I'm wherever you're building anything at, no matter if it's domestically or internationally, the first thing you need to do is a needs assessment to ensure that what the services that you're trying to provide or the platform that you're trying to create is actually needed. They actually need what you're trying to provide. And that's how you could be of a service. You know what I mean? Not trying to enforce a certain perspective, et cetera. So that was our initial platform. And then from there, out of our needs assessment, we saw that our goals aligned, and then we were able to start progressing from there.
Man, I love it. I was out there with you in China, man. So, just documenting the whole moment was very rewarding, just to kind of see that a continent, or just even within the countries that we went to see the factories, they had it in place. It's like whenever you can make something from scratch, that's just a beautiful thing. So it's just good to hear someone who was able to really be exposed, to that diaspora, to really being out here, and then to go to Africa and the work that you do in Uganda. These are the stories that we have to hear, because there are youth here in America who may never even think that, okay, I have the cell phone here, I can make my own, right? The same resources that were here thousands of years ago that make this phone have always been here. We just have to put them together to make them. So as far as, like you said, we can go to Africa and have our own intentions, however, there has to be an infrastructure that has to be created so that we can, build with one another. If there's going to be any new anything, new Africa, we have to come together first. So I definitely commend you on that, man. Let me jump in these chats. I see we got some questions coming. Oh yeah, so while I look at these chat, they asked about where can they find you, man, on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, yeah, my Instagram
my finger
is Dr. Dental, so DR Dental 16 on Instagram, Twitter, Dr. Dental, DR Dental 16.
Okay, we got some good ones in here. Let me go to the top. Someone's asked, did you have any problems with people keeping their word? Did you use a business credit card, a personal credit card, etc.? I don't know anything about this process, but this conversation is great. So I guess they're asking about just when it comes to just the communication, and then you could probably tie that in a little bit, with Africa in the sense, how Menergi goes about things.
Yeah. So in China, I didn't. So initially, of course, I was kind of like skeptical about just like, I don't know this person, that this vendor that I'm reaching out to. So I kind of teased off of it a little bit. I went through different like payment channels to kind of secure payment channels to potentially just make sure that I was okay in that capacity. But yeah, you're right. It initially was a risk. You know what I mean? But it was a personal risk that I was willing to take only just to see if this thing actually worked. Right. So once I was able to get samples and the communication was consistent and fluent, then I knew, I was like, okay, this is something I can scale up a little bit. When we made the trip to China, again, that was another risk, you know what I mean? But we were going to a trade show. So we did our research about the trade show, the research about the area. So we were able to go meet people at a bigger venue. And actually, when we went to the trade show, we saw a lot of buyers from all over the world, you know. We talked to different people from Best Buy and these different places where they were coming into this same community like we were, just looking for, more initiatives, more products, et cetera, et cetera. So, it was I definitely was skeptical about certain things, but I think just having a consistent form of communication, explaining your shortcomings with your potential supplier is like the baseline of it. If you feel uneasy about certain things, you could be a little bit, you could step back. But I felt like it was pretty straightforward from the beginning.
Okay, I had another question to follow right after that, as similar line with the previous. So how do we go about getting vendors in Africa?
Honestly, man, I'm not sure, man. I think it comes down to like going back to the infrastructure, right? So it also depends on what you're building, right? So I'm definitely sure there's certain places that have, if you're building a certain thing, like I'm pretty sure there's probably resources in that capacity, but making sure some type of connection has to be placed. I'm not personally sure of a specific type of platform that you can use to connect to a potential African vendor to maybe get a product built specifically from Africa. Because that would be amazing if there was an easy pipeline to be able to communicate with somebody and say, okay, this is an idea. Are there resources or individuals in this capacity that can help me birth it? Like, I really want this to be birthed from Africa. You know what I mean? I'm not sure of any platforms in that capacity. But I think, building a partnership, like taking these resources that we do have and building a partnership in Africa to then make that a home base around something is something that people could definitely get behind, right? So, with the relationships, like the foundation of it is relationships, right? So, we have a lot of friends here in the States, a lot of African friends here in the States, like bridging that gap between those people to then communicate what we're trying to do and then work that, you know what I mean? Like so we have to take the stairs, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same thing like when doing nonprofit work. When doing nonprofit work, of course we understand, like you said in the beginning, funding is important. However, when just approaching another organization, you always focus on the mission. So same with business or looking for vendors, manufacturers, similar how it was in China. You go out, people come together, looking to build. So as far as that, those platforms within Africa, I definitely get what you're saying. As far as just like the relationships are very important.
And the thing about it is that's so great for us right now is that we're more connected than ever. right? The internet was the great equalizer for us. You know what I mean? Like our grandmothers, they couldn't my grandmother, she can't imagine me actually having a conversation with somebody in China back and forth, and we're doing business. Or me able to have friends in Uganda and we talk frequently. Like we're more connected than ever. So I think if you are putting out that energy and connecting those dots, looking for people to connect with you in this to help you bridge the gap to Africa and other places, it can easily be done now because of the infrastructure that we now operate on and the technology that's now available.
Man, that's amazing. That kind of goes into just more so like the future. And I wanted to know from you, with let's just say like the next 5 years as we move forward and setting this precedent, this new Africa, this mindset, with Menergi, what do you see like the next 5 years, 10 years, like the impact that you really want Menergi to bring? How do you see it really shaping that diaspora?
Yeah, man, I just feel like we need to be at the table, like these billion-dollar corporations that are making these statements, like these shouldn't be press statements just to get buzz to see that, you have the Black support. We need to be at the table to be accountability partners for these resources that are supposedly getting allocated, right? So the numbers say that 70 billion was given to these in philanthropy dollars. 70 billion was given, but only 7% went to minority-led organizations. That's unacceptable. Simple as that. That's unacceptable. So there has to be like a third party group of people or some type of group of people to be able to step in, to have these conversations, to then be able to communicate to the public, but also to the organization that these resources need to get broken up to be able to, we need to see these resources in our community a lot better, right? There's no transparency in that space. But everybody advocates for it. It's an easy buzzword. It's it's something easy to get behind. So that's where we're at, man. We want to increase that 7% in the next 5 to at least 10%.
That's amazing, man. Like it's basically like if you're giving money to children in Africa or Haiti or anywhere, even in America, like let's see where it's going. Let's really see the impact. Let's actually know like what that donation, that like where is it going and what is it doing? Like you said, it's just a buzzword. Hey, people need it, right?
And listen, Rudy, funny part is that this is an issue that happens in nonprofits in general, right? So the whole concept that this kind of reminds me of, and this is where we have to operate in our own community the right way as well, right? So the concept is biomimicry, right? So it's just like where things at a small level, there's a system working at a small level, then it starts working at a bigger level. So like from a intermediate family to a community, to a neighborhood, to a community, to a state, to a nation, to a world. It just kind of builds on top of each other in a certain capacity. So right now, just think about it right now. If somebody created a GoFundMe saying, hey man, hey, I'm starting a new nonprofit. Could you support me? Right? This is our goal, $1,000. Okay, you give that 1,000. You give that 25, that 30.
Right.
After that, you don't know where the money went. Like it's like a trust system. Like there's no transparency on like, hey, look, man, we put your dollar to action in this capacity, or we put your dollar to action in this capacity. So that's the lowest level. Right? So we're asking at the highest level for them to do something that we don't do on the lowest level sometimes. You know what I mean? So it has to build on top of each other. Like we have to operate in that transparency type of space so people can see what's going on. Because a lot of organizations, a lot of people don't want to open up the books. Like a lot of people don't want to show you where the money is really going. Like asking for transparency is a big question. Big question to ask somebody. Like literally show me where the money's going. You know what I mean? Like even in the a lot of people, I'm a Christian, even in the space of the church, where people like, a lot of their flaws like, man, where the tithes and offerings going? I don't know. The pastor got a Bentley. Where the tithes going? Same thing. Like, ask the church would the church be transparent where all the money's going? You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thought process. Like, the transparency is what is hindering us from getting to that next level. But we have to demand it to make sure that those resources get distributed equally.
Man, I love it, man. I love it. It's good to see that, you know, there's an organization that's focusing on not only the hearts of people, but the wallets.
Yeah, right.
You know, you kind of switched it around. You see, they're asking about that word, biomimicry. I like that. You dropping the knowledge on this, man. So yeah, I wanted to. I don't want to take up too much time, but I definitely want to. We'll move into our next speaker. I want to join this conversation as well because he brings a dynamic into the solution. You know, really creative strategies on how we can get started within moving our culture forward. I know you DeVonte, working in that nonprofit space. You definitely have a take as far as, you know, how we can advance as a people. But I definitely am looking forward to hearing our next speaker, Brother Kashief Edwards, CEO of the Vending Bizz. So, you know, we'll bring him on up let him join us in this conversation. He's gonna let us know a little bit about, hey, what's up, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, man, all is well, all is well. Thank you for joining us. Definitely looking forward to, you know, hearing, you know, just about, you know, what you're doing out here. I definitely admire just your brand, your business, what you're doing for the community, how you're doing it. And I look forward, you know, so I'll give you the floor, man. You know, welcome.
All right, thank you for having me on. I really love, you know, your platform. And my name, you know, like you said, my name is Kashief Edwards. I'm from the city of Philadelphia, and I've been in the vending machine business for about 5 going on 6 years now. Started out kind of rough, lost it for a second, got it back, and, you know, doing real well. And now I'm teaching others how to get into the business as well. So that's the main thing that I do.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I wanted to know a little bit. I know you said 5 to 6 years, so a lot has changed just in business in general. So first, you know, how'd you jump into it? You know, just background wise, like what really kind of sparked your interest? A lot of things, of course, you know, we all could do business wise, but why that vending machine?
All right. So what sparked my interest was so when I was younger, I played a lot of sports. So I spent a lot of time in like recreation centers, right? So in these recreation centers, it was always vending machines. Like, you know, I ain't really pay attention to them, like, but subconsciously I was like, so on a certain day, I believe it was on Sundays, we had practice, and we had a Gatorade machine in this gym. And this lady on every Sunday would come in and change out the Gatorades or refill the machine, basically refill the machines and collect the money. So I always would just catch her doing it, and I'd be like, "Damn, like she taking out a nice amount of money out of that machine." Like, so it was always in the back of my head, like, you know, this as I was growing up. But then I guess I got older, I know I had an interest in entrepreneurship, right? But then I went to college, graduated with my degrees, started, you know, working, got out there, wasn't really making the money that I wanted to see. So I was looking, I was like, all right, well, what can I invest in? You know, I really didn't have that much money. I checked my credit. I didn't even find out what credit was until after college, which was crazy. I checked my credit. My credit wasn't there. Like, so I was like, all right, well, you know, let me see what I can do. Because initially I wanted to get into real estate. You know, my goal was, you know, get into real estate, try to flip some houses or something, you know. So, but I didn't have the means to do it. So I was like, well, what can I afford to do? And that's when the vending machine thing popped back up into my head. So that's kind of how I got going with it in terms of the idea. As far as action, what happened was I took the idea, ran with it, and I tried to do research on it, but I wasn't finding the information that I was looking for. So I was like, yo, I'm just going to figure it out. And so I just dived like head first into it. Went out, got a machine, found the location. It didn't work. Long story short, I ended up buying a machine that was too big for. I found the hotel over here in Philly, but it was too big. The machine was actually too big for the doorway that I had to go through. So I was like, man. But I was lucky. Like they gave me my money back for the machine.
Right.
And at that point, you know, I ended up finding 2 more locations, but it just didn't work out. And then I ended up doing candy machines, like so the gumball machines that you put like the quarter in and stuff. And you get a handful of candy. So I ended up getting 4 of those, and I grew that to about 20 or so machines.
What?
Yeah, so I was earning like a little piece of change off of that. I was earning probably like $1,000 off of like the 20 something machines a month. So I was like, cool. Like if I do this, I can just save everything, and then you know I use that to get into real estate. That was still my goal.
Yeah.
Like so, but a guy ended up talking me into buying a soda machine. But at that point, I had failed so many times with the vending machines. I was like, I'm cool where I'm at. Like I don't even want to try it no more. But I ended up giving it a try. And it worked out, man. It was a real good spot. That again was a hotel, a soda machine. Then I ended up putting a snack machine in there, and I kept growing.
Man. Yeah, man. I was gonna say like, cause what I've researched, man. Like you teaching this now, man. Like you like, hey, get this one. We got a card reader on. I want to know at what point did you get to where you knew you could really like scale it? Like, all right, you know what? This is gonna be it. Like, did you jump into real estate, or are you still kind of?
No, I'm in it now, but okay. I didn't get in as fast as I thought I was going to.
Okay.
Stuff don't go like you plan. But at the point where I realized I was going to scale it, it was when I got my first account, right? So like I said, with the candy machines, I was seeing about 1,000 off of 20. I had like 22, 25 machines. Like I was making like between 700 to 800 with just one machine on the vending machine. So I'm like, man, all right, this is different, and it's cash. Like, you know, with the coins is, you know, they heavy. They ripped all my bags. Like it was hard to carry the coins.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta roll them up to take them to the bank, or you have to, you know, find a coin machine. It was a lot. But you know, so when I got that first one, I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna put another one in there. And I found I had that same account. I talked to them, and they let me put a snack machine in there. The snack machine did the same number. So at that point, I was averaging about 1,400 with that account.
Wow.
Right? And then at my job at that point, I was only making like 1,600 a month. Like, so I'm like, man, like if I get a couple of these, I might be able to just leave, like, you know, and do something. Yeah, so I ended up getting another account. I talked to my old school. They let me come in as, you know, their vending provider. And that one did the same type of numbers. It averaged about 1,500. So combined with the other one, now I'm making more than what I'm making at work. So I'm like, man, if I land another account, I'm leaving. Landed another account. I got an apartment complex. I left. Like, and that's when that's when I went for it. Like, I'm scaling it. But, and you know, I didn't just take off. Like what actually happened was at that point when I left, it was the city came and shut down my hotel that I had, right? So that hurt it. And then the summer came. So the school that I had was out. Like, you know, so now that hurt it. Now I just got one account. I'm like, damn, like what I'm gonna do. So I ended up going back to work, if kind of pick my pride up, you know what I'm saying? Pick my pride up, back to work. And just rebuilt. And this time I just rebuilt. I thought I rebuilt better. I diversified a little more, you know, and I put my money in different places. Like, so, you know.
Man, that's good, man. That's good. And I definitely just commend you, man, just sticking with it, you know, because that's a lot of people really kind of, you know, just give up. They be like, all right, I'm gonna go back to work and stay. But you actually, you know, kind of made it work, you know. And I wanted to tie it in, you know, because, you know, the theme of everything is New Africa. You know, the mindset of how we're progressing forward. I wanted to know, I know with you basically now being able to provide the blueprint on what you do, from your experience, you know, working with, you know, people from, I'm sure all ages who probably ask you these type of questions. How has it impacted, you know, just for those that you work with, just in the community? I know Philly as well. I know Philly is home to a lot of Black business owners. So it's and it's a strong culture in Philly when it comes to just Black business. How did that impact impacted the community that you live in on more of a progression level, just with you being a teacher now?
I will say it definitely has a big impact because a lot of people, want to get involved in something. They want to do something to help themselves, but a lot of resources or they feel like a lot of their means to do so is kind of out of reach. Like even with myself, I felt like, man, I don't really have enough money to do this, do that. Everything I was looking up, I really didn't. I ain't have enough for it. Like, but with the machines, it gives you an opportunity to kind of buy into something at a lower ticket, price. Machines only usually cost around $1,500. So you can get in there, make your money, and then set stuff up. So I feel like it just gave them a means to where they actually have something they feel like they can attain, at least even if they only using it as a springboard to get to something else. So that's initially what I was doing, but I just ended up sticking with it.
Okay, we got a question in there for you too. They said, Kashief, what's the initial startup costs or range? Do you need an attorney for placement contracts with venues? It's 3 questions. I'll run through them and you can answer them. And then we have, how do you feel about the diversity happening now with the vending items such as meat, New York City, and healthy snack options? So I guess we'll start with the first one with the initial startup costs. I know you kind of said a little bit earlier, but you can touch on that.
Yeah, so initial startup cost is going to be, for me personally, I started with $1,200. That's how much I started with. Like I brought a machine for $900. I got it moved for it was like $100, and I got my products. Like, and that was it. Like, but if you're gonna go about it, I kind of did mine backwards. I didn't get my LLC and stuff until after I kind of tested the waters out. So if you're gonna go into it the right way, I would say your startup cost was gonna be somewhere between $3,000 to $5,000. Because most accounts want 2 machines, and your machines are going to cost around $1,000 to $1,500 on average. Like, gotcha. So if you're going with 2 machines, then you get your paperwork and stuff in line. Then you have to get your products. You get the machines moved. So by the time you get all that together, you'll be somewhere between 3 to 5.
Okay. I know the next one was just the attorney placement when it comes to contract with the venues that you get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like so what we do is I use a simple contract. Some people use longer. I learned from experience and just talking to other people in the business. It's just better to use simple. I use a 1-pager. So I feel like when I was using a longer contract, it was like, all right, well, we're going to have our people look at this. But when I give them the 1-pager, it's kind of real simple, basic. Everything that we discussed is in there, and that's something they could look at and feel comfortable and sign. Like it's a much quicker process to use. A 1-pager. We don't typically have attorneys involved unless we're using longer paperwork.
Gotcha. Okay. No. I definitely see the value of that. You definitely don't want to just walk in people's establishments saying, hey, can we do this? So I think the last one was, how do you feel about the diversity happening now with vending items such as meat? They do that in New York City, and healthy snack options.
Yeah. I think the healthy snacks options are always going to be there. I think that, that's kind of a niche thing. Even with the meat, I feel like that's a niche thing. That's where I feel like they're really talking about. It's like the niches. I see a lot of people doing hair now. I've helped people do like hair machines where they put like eyelashes, hair weaves,
right,
on fingernails and all types of stuff. Like the meat machine they're talking about. So I think, it's this part of the business evolving. Like, the vending machines have been around for a long time. Like, I was watching a movie the other day. It was a super old movie, and I've seen a vending machine in that movie. I was like, man, like, how long is it? And it was old. Like, so, I don't really think they're going anywhere. They just evolve in terms of how they actually look and how they operate. Like, when I first started, we weren't using card readers and all that type of stuff. But now, we're getting into an age where we use cash less and less. So you want to have that card reader on there because most people don't carry the cash like they used to carry the cash. Like, so even outside of that, you look at payments like, it's accepting more and more forms of payments. So I know about two or 3 years ago, I was walking up to one of my machines to fill it up, and the guy was getting a soda from it, so I was just waiting for him to be done. And he walked up to the machine and like swiped it with his watch. Right. I was like, what is he doing? Like, and then he ended up picking like 3 sodas. I was like, yo, I didn't even know you could do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? That was the first time I seen somebody actually do that, because the software on the machines, they just update it. Like, you know, they don't really tell you about it. Like, but with the stuff that keeps coming out in terms of the way people can pay, like now we have Apple Pay, and we have things like Cash App and all these other different forms of payment. They adding those to the actual, you know, processing of the payments for the machines.
Oh man, that's amazing, man. And it's cool just with you being in the space, you were able to kind of see how things are evolving. So I'm sure that probably piques your interest when it comes to any other endeavor you would want to get, or how you could possibly even learn from working in this current market. How it could possibly, like I said, get you into something else, with whether technology, wherever it goes, basically. I know we had another question. It was for DeVonte earlier, but I kind of want to tie it into both of you. So they asked, how do you think doing this type of business, DeVonte, they were saying getting products made in China and or Africa is going to be affected by the current political climate, considering the relationship between China and USA right now? So I want to take that question. DeVonte, I feel like you could answer it. But Kashief, I wanted you to kind of touch on it in a way to what you were kind of discussing just now about just evolving. Did you see yourself when it came to products, whether putting newer types of products in your vending machine? It could be Black-owned products, or providing your your services of vending machines in other countries. Like, do you see that possibly what's going on in the business, political wise, really affecting your business per se, on how you plan to evolve as a business owner? And DeVonte, I guess you can answer that question head on, based off what it was asked at first.
Yeah, I would say currently not right now, but I can see how it would affect, because most of the machines and whatnot, most of that stuff is made over there. Like, it gets shipped here. Like, so, when we have those certain situations that's going on, it definitely does affect the business, even with the cost of the machines and everything like that. And to speak on that, somebody did actually approach me about, because I just recently started selling machines. Ever since I got that platform, I had a lot of people approach me about, hey, do you sell them? Do you sell them? I'm like, man, let me figure out a way to start selling them. Because I sold them locally, but now it's like, people all over the place.
Real tough, man. I call you after this.
Somebody, from overseas about manufacturing. So if I'm going to do that, like, that definitely will play a role too. So, it's definitely important.
Okay, DeVonte.
Yeah, so I guess from the how it would change, like how things are getting built in or just our products getting built in China. So of course, some of our current things is like the shipping. So the shipping is definitely way more increased because they're adding like a tax on top of it, shipping things from China to America. So that's been a flaw. But again, like, the price spread of what it costs to make it there and what it, and bringing it here, it still trumps, no pun intended, it still trumps the amount you would pay getting it built in America. And it's mainly because of, they just have the infrastructure to build these things. So one of the main places that we traveled to in China was mainland to Shenzhen. And Shenzhen is basically the hardware capital of the world. And when I say that, if you came to Shenzhen and you said, I want to make a blender with an LED screen at the bottom that was connected to whatever, they could build that. Like, it's like that type of system, that type of innovation is available. Like, everybody has a factory, everybody has a warehouse. So it kind of just goes back to, if we want to empower our communities at a certain level, it's going to start with us producing at that level too, right? So we're going to have to eventually get to a point where we can build those same things. It's a stretch in certain capacity, but we have to take the knowledge and education that we're doing, reinvest to start trying to build our own infrastructures. But that's kind of in a nutshell. I mean, it's going back and forth though.
Right. No, I definitely love it, because your perspective, you're able to kind of see it. You've been exposed to it. And then Kashief, like you said, you're now jumping into selling, this product now, something that you used to make money from. Have you seen yourself possibly making your own vending machine?
You know what? It's been a talk. it's been a talk. I had a few like family members and friends like, yo, man, you should manufacture your own. But just like what he said, you know, when I think about that, it's just like, man, that's out of reach. But, you know, but actually looking at it, it's like, man, I probably could, like, you know, because I know
Really?
enough about it.
Bro, what?
And when I got approached about from the guy overseas, and he told me he could basically come up with the concepts for me, something similar to what he just said. I was like, man, I probably could do that. So that is something probably down the line. As far as the technology side, I'm kind of piecing that together right now. I got something that I'm working on that'll be out soon. So, you know, yeah. Chipping away.
No, man, look, I'll say that's a perfect answer, man. And I said that because I saw a comment in here. It said, let's focus on Africa. There are Chinese in Africa manufacturing right now. How do we get to that point? And you saw how it happened. I just asked the question. Kashief says, hey, you know what? It's been in the talks. I could do it. I've always learned that now never changes. It's always going to feel like now. So once you get it started, you got new conversations. You know, I'm not sure how many people on here right now, but hey, you know, by us having this conversation, Kashief could have a vending machine out, you know, by the end of next month. And you already know that's the first thing I'm buying that one, right? You know, and that's how we do it. So for all those in the comments saying, talk about Africa, talk about, hey, we in America right now, you know, but this is why we having this conversation. This is why it's New Africa, because we have to have new conversations, new mindsets, new brothers that we see on the screen in front of us every day who are going to inspire us all to make that change that we want to see. So yeah, man, I appreciate you guys both, man. I definitely, I'm just looking here to see if we have some more. Here we go. We got with God, all things are possible. See, there we go.
Amen.
We figuring it out, man. So what I want to do is, man, I definitely appreciate you, brothers. I want to give this time for you guys to give your last closing remarks, any last words you can let us know where we can find you, and then I'll kind of close this out. So we can start with you, DeVonte, since you let us off.
Okay, yeah. So again, man, I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to share with you guys just a little bit of insight. These concepts and these perspectives, they're extremely dense topics. So I'm always down to have a further conversation on any of these platforms. So I'm gonna put my information, and we can have a more in-depth conversation about our process and things. And, you know, you can hear my perspective a little bit more. But I'm grateful for We Buy Black for even creating a platform of this caliber to even have this discussion, because I believe this is the beginning of going down the direction of how we can create these type of systems for our people in our own space. So, man, again, I appreciate it, man. My social media handle is Dr. Dental, so DR Dental 16. That's on Gmail. That's on IG, Instagram, and Twitter. And I'll put all my other information in the chat as well.
Well, thank you, bro. Kashief.
Yeah, man. So definitely, I definitely want to thank y'all for having me on again. I really love your platform, man. And the major key piece with stuff like this, man, is this. It gives you resources. I think that's what we're lacking in our communities the most is resources. Like, so, you know, these type of platforms let you know what your resources are, you know, in terms of when you want to get involved in, you know, different things. So, but yeah, anybody who's looking for more information on for what I do in terms of helping people, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at the Vending Bizz. .com. It's on the internet, thevendingbiz.com. On my handle for Instagram is _vending_biz. We have a ton of free info like on the page. If you want to do anything paid, we have a course and an ebook as well.
Oh, thank you. Hey, and guys, I am Rudy Simpson, the volunteer coordinator here at We Buy Black. I first want to just thank DeVonte and Kashief for taking the time out to want to get their business out here, because what they're doing out here in the community is solution oriented. It's all aligned with New Africa. It's all what we're doing when setting that precedent for the next 400 years. I definitely commend you brothers both for just taking the leap, a leap of faith. I don't really look at things as being risks anymore. I feel like you guys are committed, and I just encourage you both to continue to inspire. Stay connected. I'm looking forward to just kind of working with both of you, seeing how I can just be of value, as we do, move forward. So with that being said, I thank everyone for joining. Leave your questions still in the comments. We'll try to get to them. But yeah, outside of that, thank you all for joining We Buy Black, New Africa August. Peace.